as Eli Manning stays on his feet. It is caught by Tyree.
Welcome to Catch the Moment Podcast. I'm your host, David Tyree. Excited to be back with you for another week to get you on your way to your journey, where you got to go, get you the process, get you the journey, and work through the pain points. Really excited to have my guest with me today because he's the reason why this platform exists. It's about people who have gone on to accomplish amazing things, but I promise you there's a story. Welcome, Westley Morris, to the orange table. What's going on, family?
Oh, man. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Bro, you earned the right, my guy. You earned the right. You earned the right. So you dug in a quarter episode, so you know we got to get right to it. Mm-hmm. Where were you when you actually saw the helmet catch? What was your, what's your memory? Anybody, any intriguing story, feel free to share.
Absolutely. I can't remember exactly where I was at, but I remember saying to myself, wow, that was a pivotal moment in this game. And you guys went on to win it.
It was wild. It was wild. And I tell people all the time, listen, it might have been 2 weeks later on the boob tube, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But, it was definitely, trust me, it was my moment. And then I got to flip the script on you, man, because you have a profound story, which we're going to get into. And when I've done my little research, bro, so I'm trying to figure this out. What has been the most impactful moment for you at this stage in your journey? What's the moment of Westley Morris?
One of the most impactful moments of my entire life was I built up my family business, mm-hmm. right? And I did it while riding a bicycle. And I took over a family business and I rebranded it. I changed the name. I added technology, no business experience whatsoever. And I was grinding it out, riding a bicycle. And one night at 9 o'clock at night, me and my mom, we were power struggling because she was holding on to what she had built and I wanted to go this way. And it's 9 o'clock at night and we really don't like each other at this moment. Mm-hmm. She's locking up the door. I'm getting onto my bicycle about to ride home, and I'm so angry at her. And I look up at this building, this beautiful, repainted, new signage, and I'm over here. I'm trying to build up my family business, and I said, "Hey, lady," and I used a bad word, and I said,
"Real talk,
nice effing building, right?" And she stopped. She looked up at the building. She looked back at me. And she said, "My son did that."
Man.
My son did that. And I realized that it wasn't even about me. It was always about helping someone else. That was the moment that I realized,
Bro, that was deep. I had a pause. I got my soul pause. I felt that in my soul. It's a lot of points of intersection. Of course, number one, when you're a man and you're a son, and you're arriving at places and you had the opportunity to serve your mom and her business and, extending the legacy in that way. How old were you at that time?
When I first stepped into entrepreneurialism, I was 31 years old.
Excellent. I can only imagine what that could have been like, right? Because it's so, you gotta tightrope that thing when it's Mom Dukes, you got a little honor, but at the same time. So, how did you, you said no experience. So what were some of the keys in navigating some of those conversations? And, because you talk about collaboration, these are things that most people can struggle with on any given day, working with an intern or an employee, let alone mom.
Yeah.
What were some of the, keys or avenues that helped you walk that tightrope to cross that plateau?
A lot of spiritual principles, but the number one thing that I can think of is it's better to be understanding than to be understood. And just by understanding, what it took to operate for 28 years.
Yeah.
And all the work that she put in, so whenever I'm navigating through a situation, I always like to practice empathy.
Yeah.
And put myself in the other person's shoes.
Sure.
And see things from their perspective.
Man, this is so good. Because listen, you talk about she gave her life to the business.
100%.
She gave her life to the business, and change is difficult.
It is.
Change is difficult.
Well, it's not the change that's painful, it's our resistance to it.
Woo! Whoa. Hey, you warming me up. You know, we got T-shirts on in the basement, dog. So our resistance to the change. Well, that's good. And I like I said, that's 100%. I think number one, we resist the change. We're kind of at odds with what ultimately needs to happen, right? Progress. And I think that's powerful. So let me pivot back to you in relation to some of your journey. You know, give me the elevator on where you're from and even how you arrived to some extent, because I know you had some major challenges just walking through your own personal experience. Yeah. And you know, so paint the pathway of how you arrived to that, you know, to some of these places.
Yeah. So I'll try to, you know, sum it up the best I can. I was supposed to be a farm boy. I was raised in a farming community in rural Pennsylvania, and I come from an area where work ethic is more important than actual intelligence, meaning how much you can work on the farm is more important than what you bring home in your report card, right?
That's powerful.
And I still carry some of the leadership principles that I learned from the farm, which is feed your animals first.
It's good.
Right? So my grandfather and my grandmother, she woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and the very first thing that had to happen was go out and feed the animals before you ate breakfast, because they're your lifeblood. So as a leader, leaders eat last. My people are taken care of first.
Yep.
Before my wants and needs come into play. Sure. So that's the environment that I come from.
That's a whole. I'm gonna let you finish, but that's a whole situation and a lifeline in itself. But I actually think that working with your hands is the fundamental element of genuine hard work, which it takes to sustain in any ecosystem. And very few elements like a farm, like working with your hands, prepares you for the actual experience of what you have to apply in so many other different areas of ecosystem. So go ahead, man, keep treading.
Absolutely. And I, as an inspirational, motivational speaker, I still take a lot of concepts from farming, right? I mean, you know, you reap what you sow.
100%.
Right? If you don't plant seeds, you don't eat at fall. Right? If you don't take the weeds out, you know,
no harvest,
no fruit is gonna bear. Right? So I take a lot of the concepts that I speak about from the farming lifestyle. And you know, my mom grew up on that farm. It's a 365 acre working farm. Still have it to this day. Still go there and make hay in the summertime. Still ride horses and still get in touch with my heritage. And she was 19 when she met my dad. I was born into poverty. We lived in a cabin, and they shot deer to survive. And that's the environment that I was born into. When I was 9 months old, my mother found my father with another woman, and brokenhearted, scared, no job skills, no life skills.
Sure.
She took me and my sister and put us in a dump truck and brought us to, you know, what was the city, which is the Lehigh Valley. Scared, brokenhearted, not really knowing what to do. She opened up her own therapeutic massage therapy business. Right?
What year is this?
This is 1990.
Boy, she was a pioneer out here, man. The massage business in the 90s, especially out in PA?
Massage business in the 90s. You know, with the best intentions of doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Just a farm girl, new to the city, and put the walls in, put the plumbing in, the electric. You know, she was my hero.
Yeah.
She was my everything. I was looking at this woman. This is my strong mom. She's making a stand, you know. And I thought that I had a normal life. I thought, you know, I played football, baseball, wrestling.
Yeah.
We grew up in a suburban community. And then I realized, you know, everything shifted when I was 12 years old.
Okay.
When I was 12 years old, I come home from wrestling practice. I'm standing on the sidewalk, and the state police detectives have my whole house surrounded. And I'm 12 years old. I'm scared. I'm confused. I don't know what's going on. And I see my mother being carried out in handcuffs. She was being arrested for running a prostitution enterprise.
Wow. Okay, 12 years old. All right, so you're talking about formative years here where, so I'm, without trying to be over, I know that's a trigger, a trauma at that stage, because young men, we're starting to formulate our thoughts, our beliefs, our ideas. So, unpack that. Tell me how that really affected you there, maybe what that led to.
Absolutely. So, you know, when you don't have the ability to properly process the events in your life, you give things a certain meaning that may not necessarily be true, right? And I went to school and all the kids made fun of me and my coaches, and they made fun of me, and it was a big thing in the town.
Yeah.
It's a small town, right?
Yep.
So I formulated a belief about myself, about my family, and about my mother that wasn't necessarily true. The belief that I formed was that I was a bad kid.
Wow.
The belief that I formed was that, you know, she's a Jezebel, right? The truth is, my mom was just doing the best that she knew how.
Ooh, and she just didn't know any better at that time.
After years and years of carrying around that baggage, right? God told me, look at the love that I showed you. Why don't you show her the same love that I showed you? Why you keep holding her over the fire?
And those are the moments of true love and transformation.
But when you're 12 years old, you don't know how to process that.
You don't. And it's almost unfair to expect any 12-year-old. And like, listen, I think we all, on the other side of it, we grow. You've obviously grown through these experiences. And most of us who've had some sour experiences would never wish those on our children, right? And I think those are the lessons learned and opportunity to give back. So, what was it like, because now here you are, and I know there's more story to tell, but you're a business owner. You've revolutionized and transformed her business. Well, we're going to get into the details. You're a keynote motivational speaker. Your life is actually speaking for you in some superior and dynamic ways, from farm to the microphone.
Yep.
So what was the come to sobriety moment, or what was the pain, what was the agony that, because everything that's of true worth is genuinely forged in the fire. So
yep.
What did you have to endure to get to this place where you're like, man, where now you see the worth of your mother and her struggle?
Yeah, it took a long time to get there. And I think the reason why I had such a difficult time at 12 years old was because the communication piece wasn't there.
Okay.
Right? So, it's one thing, everybody goes through trials and tribulations in their life. It doesn't matter, if you're at this level of society or this level of society. 100%. We all have our own problems.
Yes.
But the thing of it is that, I don't know, for whatever reason, or maybe it was in the 90s, but things happened and you just didn't talk about them.
Oh man!
You just kind of put them under the rug. You were never, explained as to what was going on. So, like I said, you're left to formulate a belief by yourself.
Yep.
And that belief led to, a long line of. I started using drugs and alcohol at the age of 12 to kind of cope with the ridicule that I felt,
pain,
with the shame and guilt. And the unmanageability set in really quick. I got my first DUI when I was 15 years old. I stole a car. And by the time I was 19 years old, I had already been kicked out of school. I had lost my license for 22 years.
At 19?
At 19
license
years
going
old.
for 22 years.
22 years.
So, listen, I got to speak, because people don't realize, so they tell you that having a license is a privilege.
Yes, it is.
So, have you got your license back yet?
No.
And so how old are you now?
I am 38 years old.
Man, so we're still on the pathway. So that's one of these things where, a lot of times I like to highlight little random moments, and your story tells it well. It's a privilege because here you are, and this speaks to the pedigree of Westley Morris, because not only have you accomplished feats that we make so many excuses for the reason why we can't do something as humans, right? Mm-hmm. Myself included, until we finally get over that.
Yeah.
But, man, even something as simple as driving really actually is a privilege. Mm-hmm. To the moment where you recognize that when it's revoked from you, man, how nice it would be to be able to make decisions or maximize the conveniences that affords. So get back into it, 19, 20. Wow, man.
Yeah,
so we got some similarities, obviously, in our story, but it's about you, fam.
I know. 19 years old, had failed out of school, no real direction, no real direction in life. And you know what? When your circumstances are not what you think they should be, or you don't like them, you look for reasons why they are the way that they are, right? When the results are unfavorable in your life, sure, you look for reasons outside of you to blame. So I blame my mom, I blame the cops, I blamed the town I lived in, I blamed everyone else but me as to why my life is the way that it is at 20 years old. And I got a great idea. I'll move. Right? It's this town, it's these people, it's these circumstances. This is the reason why.
It's the reason.
Yeah, of course. It couldn't be me.
Of course not.
Of course not, right?
What kind of foolishness is that?
Yeah, exactly, right?
All this bad stuff keeps happening. There's no way.
Yeah. So I know what I'll do. I'll move to Philadelphia.
Okay.
You can go anywhere in the world, but you're going to take you with you. So I moved to Philadelphia at 23 years old, only to take me with me. You know, I'm running from myself. And I moved to Philadelphia, and you know, I'm still acting crazy. I'm still living that wild life. And I used to be a welder, right? I used to be a welder, and I come from a culture where what you do is who you are, right?
There it is.
I come from
man, bro. You talking to the shirt, because when you be well, you can do well. Yes. You know, and like until you know who you are, everything that what you do defines you. Yeah. You wanna be who you are before you do. You gotta do. So it's not, you know, but bro, you know, you in the vein. this family right here. Keep talking.
So I moved to Philadelphia. And it was the first time that I was exposed to different cultures, because I grew up in a predominantly white community,
of course,
right? And different cultures, different ethnicities, different foods, different musics, and I was like, wow, this is amazing.
What was your favorite food that you experienced when you started getting some different? What caught you off guard? You know, talk to me. Give me a little bit of that before I let you.
You know, I had this hobby when I lived in Philadelphia. Every Saturday, I would go to, you know, Philadelphia is known for its cheesesteaks, right? Yeah. So I would go to all the little mom and pop shops, all right, and figure out which ones were the best.
Give me your best.
You know, there's a place. It's called Reese's on 12th and Washington. Okay, it's a little spot. And, you know, and then I would go to these other places in West Philadelphia, and I would just, you know, meander the city and just kind of get lost in the city.
Big shout out to Reese's.
That's your plug.
Back to you, man. Keep rocking. This is good.
So I was a welder, and I was filled with a lot of pride and ego, and, you know, that the epitome of construction life. And one day I get hurt at work, and I go to the doctor. I got something in my eye, and he prescribes me prescription pain medication. And 30 days later, I was completely dependent on it. And 90 days later, I was a hopeless, homeless heroin addict in North Philadelphia. I lost everything: the girl, the job, the apartment, everything that I was holding on to make me feel like I was whole. It was all gone, and I was reduced to standing in the middle of the street, selling bottles of water for $1 a piece. And I remember the look on the cars' faces as they would pass, and the look of disgust. And I was 50 pounds less than I am right now.
Jeez.
I was malnourished. I was dehydrated. And
dehydrated, selling water.
Yeah, it was definitely the lowest moment, and I couldn't see it then, but I could see it now.
Okay.
How every decision throughout my entire life led me to that one point right there. The decision not to deal with my past, a decision not to confront my reality and my feelings. Every micro decision throughout my entire life led me to that one point right there.
You hear right to it. I tell people you have to go to your pain point to get the deepest healing. You know, like we have to confront the places that have created the deepest pain, so that we can allow that ointment to get in there and heal it. And then scar tissue can develop from there. But if it's sick at the root, It's going to resurface. It's going to resurface. This is so powerful. So, all right, so, bro, we done obviously early teenage, substance abuse. Now we get to the point of the lowest point. And what's the real, like, how do you get to this moment where it's like, Mom, where God said, this is insane. I'm like, yo, your story is like every different direction.
Yeah. So I managed to kind of crawl my butt back home.
Okay.
But I still got a problem.
Yep.
It's one thing to have a problem. It's a whole nother thing not to be able to talk to anybody about it. And the shame and guilt that I felt as a result of what my life had become was more than I could handle. I couldn't talk to anybody.
Sure.
And one day my mom walks in on me about to inject poison into my bloodstream. And the pain in her eyes was more than I could handle.
Wow.
So.
Okay, so, whoa, that's powerful. So I'm gonna tell this small snippet. Because I tell people, like, how do you change? People ask me about change. And I think this is true in general. Like, there has to be something in you, right? So when you're dealing with some form of addiction, because obviously you have a love affair, a relationship, and a bondage that is masquerading as pain, right? And I'm very oversimplifying this. But ultimately, how do people change even before they come to these monumental moments? I remember when I had my 2 legal incidents in middle school. Mm-hmm. One was very foolish, and one, I was in a stolen car. So next thing you know, I'm on, I wasn't on probation, but I'm kind of like on this juvenile probation deal. I go to court, and I could just see the look in my mother's eyes. Mm-hmm. So although I still had a lot of bad decisions in front of me, I was on a different path, and just coming out of court with my mom, looking at the stress that I was putting in her eyes, it said, you know what? I can do something different. I wasn't strung out, but it was the love, right, the respect, and the honor that I had. And I think that's what most of us have to find in our journey to overcoming vices, bondages, or even our affair with ourselves. Mm-hmm. Right? So, man, this is super powerful. You look at your mother's face, and it was too much.
It broke my heart.
Man.
It broke my heart.
So how did your recovery begin, and how did you enter this place of sobriety and becoming a champion?
In that moment, when I saw her eyes, I dropped to my knees and I prayed like I've never prayed before in my life.
Was faith a part of your background? Like,
was
it part of
introduced to it?
Sure.
But I hadn't talked to God in so long.
Understandably.
I was running on my own juices for so long that when I knocked, I didn't know if he was going to answer.
So in that moment, it was pretty much immediately like, God, I'm here.
I had no other option. I had tried everything.
That's the one that God is looking for. Broken heart, contrite spirit.
Yeah.
And, so how does it, even after that moment, how does the domino begin to take place, right? Because ultimately, then you got to get up from the prayer and hope that things change.
Well, the first part of solving any problem in life is recognizing that there is one.
Bam.
So I had to get really honest with what my life had become.
It's good.
And I had to take a deep look at myself. And through that, God started putting people into my life that started to guide me in the right directions.
This is good.
And yeah.
Because I say that there's nothing great that can happen by ourselves. Mm-hmm. You can be great. You can be very impactful and successful as an individual. But if you're going to do something, because I define greatness 2 ways. Great can be of great impact, or great can be of great reach, right? So you could do something great on a very small level, right? Because the impact is so dense. Mm-hmm. Or you can do something great that reaches. So greatness is attainable for every single one of us. So we all need to recognize and understand that. Who are the people that you felt like were most impactful along your journey to help you become the leader, the man, and the inspiration that you are?
There is so many. There's just
knock off a few, because we want to give me a start, and whatever you feel is right. Because I think it's important to recognize that none of us are going to do anything significant until we until we align ourselves, maybe submit ourselves, and listen and heed to the people that are going to be in our life.
You know what? I have someone who has been in my life, who has God in my life. And his name is Daryl.
Big shout out, Daryl.
Yeah, love you, Daryl. Daryl gripped me up about 10 years ago and took me under his wing. Now, Daryl doesn't look like me. He doesn't come from where I come from.
Fantastic.
Daryl has spent 20 years in federal prison, but he showed me unconditional love.
Nothing more powerful.
And he has guided me along for the last 10 years.
Nothing more powerful. All right, so you this is too much. All right, so obviously this is the moment where life begins to change. Man, thank God you cried out to God. I have a very similar story in that respect, and just beginning to see miracles unpack. So, at what point does this inspire you? Like you riding a bike, right?
Well, I'm not there yet.
Okay. Oh, snap.
I'm not there yet.
Let me buckle up, baby. Buckle up, baby.
The bike's coming out.
Go ahead, give it to me, dog. Lay it out. I got more time for you. Let's go.
So I changed my lifestyle.
Sure.
But I'm still an ironworker welder, right? Okay. And shout out to all the construction guys. I know what it takes.
Man.
So next time you see those guys on the side of the road and they look cold, just know that they are. And they're working really hard.
Working real hard.
Yes. So I go from, hopeless and homeless in North Philly to making $80,000 a year. It's like I hit the lotto, right? I got the girlfriend. I'm driving without a license. I got the 2-bedroom apartment. I'm making $80,000 a year.
Yeah.
This is it, right?
No doubt.
Why don't I want to put a bullet in my brain?
Ooh.
I was miserable.
You had more devils hunting you down.
Because I realized that success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure.
Y'all catching these bars. Y'all catching, okay?
Success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure.
This is chocolate bars, white chocolate bars, peanut, butter toffee. Fam. Listen, stay on. Give me more.
At 30 years old, I figured out that you can't fix a spiritual void with a physical thing.
Boom.
It was one of my greatest life lessons.
That's huge.
Doesn't matter how much stuff you get,
sure,
how much money you make, you'll never be able to fix a spiritual void with a physical thing. So I did the craziest thing I've ever done in my life. I walked away from the job, the girl. I sold my car after driving without a license for 9.5 years. And I told the landlord I got to go.
Wes, you was the captain of riding dirty. 9 years riding just out here.
I had no care.
You probably not even thinking much about it. It's just like, I got to get somewhere.
I had a mentality. I was just so angry at myself, at the world, at why did this have to happen to me?
Sure.
And not only that, I built a belief that I'm the bad boy, right?
Okay.
And I lived up to that belief that I had of myself.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes, exactly.
All right. So you lay it all down, and so you just about to just clean slate this whole thing?
I realized that life is way too short to go through unhappy and unfulfilled.
Yeah.
So I dropped it all. Like 1 week I had all this stuff. The next week I had nothing. Ooh, like man. That quick. I had my prayers. And I bought a bicycle for $500. No, I'm sorry. Somebody gave me a bicycle.
Yeah.
And I'm riding a bicycle from one side of the city to the other side of the city. This guy said, you can come walk my dogs. And I didn't really realize it at the time, but walking those dogs gave me a sense of purpose. It's very important for people to have a sense of purpose. Yes. I don't care what it is. Yes. You have to have a reason for waking up.
Come on, bro.
So I would ride my bicycle, 4 miles to get to this dude's house to walk these big dogs. And everything in my mind is saying, they are laughing at you, bro. Look at you. You're 30 years old. You're riding a bicycle. You ain't got no job. No girl's ever gonna want you. To this day, I don't know who they are.
They is one of the strongest. They one of the baddest people out there. They listen. They is serious. Like, listen, they be in your head. Like,
yeah, it's the same they that limits you from living the life of your full potential.
Facts.
So I'm walking these dogs every day, and I get this message: divine intervention. and it says, go help your mom. Go help my mom. I'm an iron worker. I'm 6 foot tall, 220 pounds of ego, bro.
Talk to him, bro.
You want me to go
Pure testosterone.
be a massage therapist?
Ooh.
And I got low self-esteem at the time, right? What are they going to think? Let me tell you a side story about my mom. My mom gets in trouble in 1997. Mm-hmm. She stayed in the same place underneath the same name in the same town doing the same thing while the whole town kicked her back in.
So change is nothing. Just starts over and goes back to work.
She never ran. She said, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to show my kids that you can fall down and you can get back up. And she stayed in the same and fought it out day in and day out. And no clients. And she said, I'm going to right my wrongs. I'm going to rewrite my story and I'm going to do this right. 3 years later, the year 2000, I come home from school. She says, hold on, I want you to meet somebody. And I'm sitting at the desk and I'm expecting anybody to come walking down the hallway. I look to my left and there's Donovan McNabb, the head quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. My mom went on to be the head massage therapist for the Philadelphia Eagles from 2000 to 2012 because she stayed in the same place underneath the same name and didn't run. So when God told me to go help my mom on a bicycle, let's go.
Let's go. We had the orange table right here. Big shout to the McNabb family. Big shout to the timing and all things aligning. Man, so full restoration because she didn't run from her mess.
She righted her wrongs.
What a woman of integrity, man.
Strongest woman I ever met.
You know, obviously this has God written all over it, man, and these are stories that you can't fabricate. And you get this, and I know the word get it from the mud, but you get it the right way. That's the only way, because everybody doesn't have to come from the mud to get it the right way. But there's no skip steps. You clean slated. You begin to serve your mom, and you become a massage therapist too while you're helping her to transform this business.
Absolutely, yeah.
So all right. So talk about the reinvention process. What goes into your head, and why did you feel like it was worth it?
Oh my gosh. Just so, you know, once the idea is planted into my awareness,
sure,
that I'm supposed to go help my mom, because at the time, you know, she had reached success, but she was a one-man band at the time.
Sure.
This was 2016. And, you know, she was still operating the business the same way she was in 1996. Paper book, you know, it was 2016. So she had never upgraded. And so when God put the idea into my awareness, no business experience whatsoever.
Sure.
I got a long list of bad decisions, right? How am I going to do this? How am I going to take over a family business and take it to the next level?
Yeah.
Right?
Farm kid, rap sheet.
Yeah, right? We riding a bicycle.
Riding a bike.
And the limiting beliefs that I held about myself told me, you know, there's no way you can do this, right? You don't have a business. You dropped out of college, right?
Man, so you just pound the pavement, went to work.
How you're going to do something is none of my business. How you're going to do something is none of your business. When the idea is planted into your awareness, which I believe is from God, how you're going to do it is none of your business. Your job is to be obedient to whatever that idea is.
Sure.
And that's his job.
This is beautiful.
I'm responsible for the effort, not the outcome.
Man, obedience over sacrifice. Just do what you've been told to do.
Yep. Even you go as far as you can see, and then you can see a little bit more. That's called the law of the horizon. So I will wake up every day. I started researching successful people. I realized that, you know, successful people, they wake up super early in the morning. So I started waking up super early in the morning.
Beautiful.
And then the first 20 minutes that you're awake, your subconscious mind is operating at 10.5 wavelengths per second. That's when your subconscious mind is most susceptible to new information. So what you put into your subconscious mind when you first wake up is going to align the spirit of your day. The way you end your day is how you start your day. So I would put on motivational videos, and I would listen to Les Brown and John Maxwell and Tony Robbins and my mentor, Paul Martinelli.
Nice.
And I would then I would write my goals down every single day.
Yeah.
I'm going to reach out to this person. I'm going to do this. I would do free chair massage, and then I would get on my bike and I would ride 8.5 miles to get to work. And I would put the motivational speakers on, and then this crazy thing happened. I began to believe what they were telling me.
Boom. There it is. Everything starts with belief.
And I just put one foot in front of the other, positive action, positive action, positive action. And then boom, the business went from 40,000 a year to 40,000 a month.
Those are numbers. Those are what we call numbers. Okay. Well, listen, salute. This is one of the most impactful stories I've heard in recent time. I want to piggyback on what you just said about beliefs, because often people don't get the full measure of what faith is, and faith isn't like just exclusive to the Christian faith. Or faith is what it is. It's the substance, but it actually composes of three things. It's belief, then it's action or obedience, and then the third component is endurance, because you don't always see it realized because you believed and because you did something, but you see it realized when you endure to receive that reward, that promise, that expectation. So, your life spells out true faith in the way in which you heard, you acted, and you've endured to actually see 40,000 a year to 40,000 a month, which is one of the most that's a case study. But, it's a case study from on high.
Yeah.
And I'm all about it, man. I'm all about it. So give me something that you feel is what's happening now, and not to say that that's still not happening, right? We don't want to dismiss.
Sure.
That's still home cooking. But what are you most passionate about now, and what's in the future for your life, your brand, and just West Morris in general?
That same business that I had a part in building, I built it up 1,000%, gave it back to Mom.
Beautiful.
So that I could take on speaking and teaching and coaching full time.
Beautiful.
Because I'm a true believer that if you want to take over the island, you have to burn the boats.
My man is full of it. This guy's unfair.
You have to burn the boats. You got to go all the way in or don't go at all.
That's beautiful. Listen, this is what I know. This is what we live. This is what we believe. This is what we do. We live in the same thing. This is my brother from another mother, and this is why you're at the table, bro. You deserve it, man. I just honor you. Talk to me a little bit about impact over income. I can't ignore the bar that you're wearing in front of my face.
For about 10 years. I realized, I was chasing success. I was chasing the Instagram reel, right?
That's real.
I just want to look good, sound good, right? It's part of my character defense. That's what happens when you have a low self-esteem, right?
So you are so honest about that, which I appreciate. Like that, not only have you struggled with it, but it's something that you're aware of that you like, I got to check this about myself.
Yeah.
Most people, when we are aware of it, we don't always acknowledge that it could be something that's actually still lurking in our DNA a little bit. Like, I got to check this just in case, make sure I'm moving the right way. I just want to let you know I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's so real.
Because I can find myself comparing myself to other people that isn't really even true, right? It's their highlight reel. So I found myself getting caught up in trying to be successful.
Sure.
But once you taste significance, success will never taste the same. Success is when I try to change my own life. Significance is when I try to change everybody else's.
Audience, this is for you. This is what we're here for.
So impact over income is I don't chase money anymore. I chase meaning.
This dude is in my bag of tricks right here. Listen, just let you know that these right here, you can get them all in the same place. Hit his site, hit my site. This is what we do. Bro, I mean, like, I'm honored. I'm amazed at your story. I really look forward. I'm glad that this is the beginning of really what's to come, because you've done it and you're about to double over and do it again. Because ultimately you recognize that your life is an offering that's kind of poured out for others. I think you've recognized that in some respect. And although your life moves into so many different verticals and avenues, somebody needs you. There's so many people that need your story. So man, where can we find you? Where can we find more about West Morris and what we're up to?
Yeah, absolutely. The website is westleymorris.com. Instagram is Wes Morris Inspires. Check me out.
Bro, we're going to do it. We're going to check you out, bro. I'm inspired. We got so much in common. I'm sure we'll be collaborating and doing some amazing work together just because it just makes sense. You know, one thing that I'm big on, and we're going to check out here, but one thing that I'm big on is don't miss the layups. Wes Morris is a layup. Like, you know, don't miss the opportunity to do something that's too easy to do, right? Whether it's pick up the phone, return the text. And I think too many times when we're aspiring to do great things, we can miss out on the opportunities to do something that's so practical, is recognize that somebody has some light and do some good service. So, but we're going to do some good service together and impact lives and inspire and ultimately receive the fruit of your labor at the end of it, because every labor is worth, you don't muzzle the ox that treads the corn. So listen, I want to thank you. I hope you've been inspired. This is another dope episode. This Wes Morris, you're going to see more of him. Why? Because his life goes before him, and when life goes before you, so does opportunity. So thank you for joining us. Make sure you follow, subscribe, like, share. This story is going to elevate, inspire, and continue to get you where you got to go on your journey. Thank you for checking in to Catch the Moment.